everyone, to Grizzlies Live postgame presented by your Mid-South Ford dealers. Rob Fisher, Brevin Knight, and Pete Pranica with you. Tough game, ugly game. You can use all the words you want to describe it, but the best word to use is win.
Listen, at the end of the day, we say this in golf. There's no pictures on the scorecard. You just write down the score that you got. And for this one, you write down a 1-point W for this Grizzlies team. And then you go through looking at it, you say, man, how did they win? They just won because Santi made a free throw at the end of the basketball game, because this was just nip and tuck the entire time in that fourth quarter.
This was a game that showcased the depth of this Grizzlies team, and you talked about it in the pinnacle effective advice of the game. You get Brandon Clark with a double-double off the bench. You get Santi Aldama. Santi comes up with double-digit rebounds as well. And I keep going back to Gigi Jackson in that third quarter.
Yes.
The Grizzlies were not making threes at all. They were 2 for 21 at point. 2 for 21 at one point, and then he hits 3 threes in that third quarter after the Grizzlies go down 19, and now all of a sudden you're thinking like, okay, we got something going here.
Yeah, Gigi came up big, knocking down a couple of shots and doing the job there on Wagner as well defensively, but boy, he just knocked down a couple of threes, and they were so smooth, and he finished with 12 points, and 3 of those coming in that third quarter when the Grizzlies really needed them, when they had to battle back into this basketball game, and they were down 19 in that third quarter and then went on a huge run, a 23-7 finish for the Grizzlies in that third quarter, and Gigi was a big part of it. Now, you kept waiting all night really for Ja to appear, and Ja was getting frustrated, and Ja couldn't get shots to fall, like everybody couldn't get shots to fall tonight. But boy, fourth quarter, call 12.
And the great thing about it, Brevin, when we talk about his mid-range game, not everything was right at the rim. That one was. But just so creative in like the 8 to 12 foot range. And that's a shot that he can get. And you pointed out too, he took advantage of the matchup with Cole Anthony. When he had Cole Anthony on him, Morant had his way.
Yeah, the thing about him was fantastic was this was a both ends of the floor game for Ja Morant. We talked about offensively. Yes, he found a mismatch. He was able to get into his offense, was able to knock down the 3. But I thought as much as influential in this game was his defense on the pick and roll coverage, with his guy being the screen setter, and he continued to jump high. That didn't allow that ball handler to turn the corner. That allowed his defender to get back into position defensively. So as much of the effect for him was on the offensive end, I think it was as much on the defensive side tonight to make this a win, to get a win for this team.
Yeah, 10 of his 23 coming in that fourth quarter for Ja Morant. It was a back and forth fourth quarter. In fact, for Orlando, they had a player get 10 points in the fourth quarter as well. And that was a guy who was pretty big all night. And this guy who was big for Orlando all the time, Franz Wagner, he was big in that fourth quarter as well.
Wagner, he's a guy, you've seen his career go on the uptick. He's increased his scoring average every single year, career high averaging right around 25, which is what he had tonight. And just a solid all-around game. I mean, he gave you a couple of block shots, good rebounder, 3 assists as well. He and Banchero are the guys, along with Suggs, that you're building around.
Franz had 25 points, 10 of them coming in the fourth quarter. He had 9 in the second quarter as well, going 9 of 19 from the field, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, had a couple of block shots as well, but down the stretch, we saw some good defense on him as well by the Grizzlies.
The thing is, I'm a fan. I've watched them play the last couple seasons, and when they get Jalen Suggs back on their team to where they don't have to be so much of the ball handlers to create for themselves, but also for their teammates, I think you'll see he and Banchero start to continue to flourish. But tonight it was just a great job by the Grizzlies being able to get the necessary stops when they had to.
Well, and they got some stops, and Taylor Jenkins in the third quarter telling the team during the timeout, hey, the only way we're going to get through this is to do it together. Grizzlies did it together on both ends of the floor, and I talked to Brandon Clark, who had a great game tonight, and BC, that dive on the floor late in the fourth quarter, yes, huge play to keep the possession alive.
A lot of guys say, I want to win. The way Brandon Clark plays, he plays the game as if his very livelihood depends on it, and he absolutely brought the energy
Canada.
tonight.
He's a hockey player, Pete.
Hey, shout out Canada.
Shout out Canada.
But he plays with such joy and energy, and I was really rooting for a good BC game tonight, because the last couple games, he just hasn't just hasn't been BC. The opportunities haven't been there, but you saw the best of Brandon Clark tonight.
Well, it's, as much as the Grizzlies guards can continue to turn the corner and get downhill, but you'll see Brandon be able to have the finishes that he's accustomed. That play right there was one of the biggest plays of the basketball game to keep the possession alive for the Grizzlies. And we're talking about the running. He also had a couple of nice assists in this game tonight. End to end, pushing the basketball, a drop off for one, and then off a left-hand dribble, shovel pass for a lay-in. BC was doing it all tonight.
Yeah. Even though we all got to the hotel at freaking 3 a.m.
Freaking 3 a.m.
That's right.
I love it.
Brandon Clark, big game, double-double, his first double-double of the season. We'll take a break here on Grizzlies Live post-game, presented by your Mid-South Ford dealers. Grizzlies win it tonight 105-104 here at Kia Center in Orlando. We'll be back and hear from the coach and wrap things up after this timeout. 104 outscoring the Magic 25-21 in the fourth quarter to get the victory. It came down to the final few possessions, and the Grizzlies able to stave off the Magic tonight and get the victory 105-104. It was a struggle to score for everybody tonight, especially for the first three quarters. But Desmond Bane had a big second quarter for the Grizzlies when they needed that as well. Big second quarter for Des, and a big rebounding night tonight for Des as well.
Yeah, we've come to the point, Brett, when we talk about his all-around game. He's just a baller.
Yes.
Whatever you need, it could be assists, it could be anything. And tonight, Des came up with a couple of steals as well, in addition to the 7 rebounds. Not strictly a three-point shooter. He is an all-around, hard-nosed basketball player that you can count on in the clutch.
Another guy who we talk so much about offense, it was defense again tonight for Desmond Bane, because when they had to have those switches, a lot of times he was switching either onto Banchero or he was switching onto Wagner, and did a good job of keeping them in front, contesting shots. And so the totality, we're going to talk about this for Desmond Bane, the totality of his game has just risen to another level.
Yeah, well, you called him a baller, Pete, during the timeout where Taylor Jenkins was telling the team, we've got to do it together. Des was one who stood up and looked at the team and said, let's hoop. We just got to hoop.
He's a hooper, too.
Yeah.
He's an Indiana kid.
He just wanted him to hoop. Speaking of the coach, let's hear from Taylor Jenkins. He's got to be relieved and exhausted following this victory tonight over the Magic.
Yeah, I mean, what a response. We said that's what we needed tonight. Obviously, a battle in the first half, back and forth, tie ball game. Give the Magic credit. They got hot. We were missing some shots. Obviously, they didn't, shoot the ball well, finishing, three-point shots. Transition defense definitely hurt us again 2 nights in a row, especially in that third quarter. But I give a lot of credit, leadership from Ja, from Dez. I mean, just them bringing the group together. We're good. Stay locked in here. We'll keep chipping away. Do it one possession at a time, That message from the middle of the third to the rest of the fourth quarter was huge. Bench comes in, as you said, Gigi with a spark. Santi was phenomenal. Big-time defense, not just offense. BC with winning plays, rebounds, running the floor, layups, knocking down free throws. Like, that was big time, coming up with the big-time plays down the stretch. And as you said, Ja Morant, Dez, getting organized, getting exactly what we wanted on the offensive side. That was impressive. It took everything we had to the last shot. Luckily, we were able to come up, with a big stop at the end, big-time rebound, and a 1-point victory after, a difficult one the other night. We just got to continue building on this.
Against the better defenses, the best defenses in the NBA, Grizzlies haven't had success. It was nice to get a win where you scored 105 points in a competitive game.
Yeah, and one in which you had to come back in the second half. This wasn't a comeback from the first half. This was down 19 in the third quarter, not down in the second. And so they had to make the run in the third quarter. But I thought they did a good job, because the Magic went up by 8 again in the fourth quarter. And the Grizzlies didn't falter. They just continue, as Taylor said, chipped away until they got themselves in the winning position, and they were able to win the game.
One of the positives you take out of this, again, this was a game that went into clutch territory, final 5 minutes, margin within 5. Grizzlies have now won 6 of their last 7 games that have gone to clutch. So that speaks well of the late game execution on both ends of the floor for this Grizzlies team, which was a struggle earlier this season.
Oh, and is there a tough one ahead for the Grizzlies on this road trip, as it will come to a close Sunday, 6 o'clock start against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Grizzlies Live gets underway at 5:30. Tip-off at 6 o'clock as the Grizz will visit the Cavs, who have been one of the best teams in the NBA, if not the best team in the NBA record-wise all season long. So that'll be fun.
It'll be a nice matchup. It'll be another one of those measuring sticks that you want to say, because you talk about how good the Oklahoma City Thunder is. Well, it's the same way as what the Cleveland Cavaliers are. It'll be a nice matchup for the bigs inside. Mobley is playing fantastic. He and Jaren playing against one another. I'm looking forward to it. I just want to see how this team steps up to the plate. I know they will be chomping at the bit to show the country how good they are.
Yeah, it'll be the third game in 4 nights. Grizzlies get a day of rest, and now to prepare for Cleveland will not be an easy task, but you look forward to these games to find out just where you...
And be able to have the finishes that he's accustomed. That play right there was one of the biggest plays of the basketball game to keep the possession alive for the Grizzlies. And we talk about the running. He also had a couple of nice assists in this game tonight. End-to-end, pushing the basketball, a drop-off for one, and then off a left-hand dribble, shovel pass for a lay-in. BC was doing it all tonight.
Yeah. Even though we all got to the hotel at freaking 3 a.m.
Freaking 3 a.m.
That's right.
I love it.
Brandon Clark, big game, double-double, his first double-double of the season. We'll take a break here on Grizzlies Live post-game, presented by your Mid-South Ford dealers. Grizzlies win it tonight 105-104 here at Kia Center in Orlando. We'll be back and hear from the coach and wrap things up after this timeout. 104 outscoring the Magic 25-21 in the fourth quarter to get the victory. It came down to the final few possessions, and the Grizzlies able to stave off the Magic tonight and get the victory 105-104. It was a struggle to score for everybody tonight, especially for the first.
The Memphis Grizzlies emerged victorious in a gritty, hard-fought battle against the Orlando Magic, securing a 105-104 win in a game that tested their resilience and depth. It wasn't always pretty, but in the end, the scoreboard tells the only story that truly matters. As the saying goes in golf, there are no pictures on the scorecard, just the result. And for Memphis, that result was a crucial one-point win, sealed by a clutch free throw from Santi Aldama in the game's final moments. Throughout the fourth quarter, the contest was a back-and-forth affair, with neither team able to establish firm control. The Grizzlies struggled from beyond the arc, hitting just 2 of their first 21 three-point attempts, but when they needed a spark, rookie G.G. Jackson provided it. Down by 19 in the third quarter, Memphis was on the ropes, searching for a way back. That's when Jackson stepped up, drilling 3 three-pointers in the frame and igniting a game-changing 23-7 run. His contributions were vital, finishing with 12 points, 3 of which came at a critical juncture when the Grizzlies desperately needed momentum. Despite the team's overall shooting struggles, Ja Morant found a way to take over when it mattered most. After a frustrating night, where shots simply weren't falling, Morant flipped the switch in the fourth quarter, delivering 10 of his 23 points in the final frame. His mid-range game, a weapon often overshadowed by his explosiveness at the rim, proved to be the difference. Exploiting a favorable matchup against Cole Anthony, Morant controlled the pace, orchestrating the offense with his signature blend of creativity and precision. But his impact wasn't limited to scoring. His defensive effort in pick-and-roll coverage was just as crucial. By consistently fighting over screens and disrupting Orlando's ball handlers, he played a major role on both ends of the floor in securing the win. On the other side, Franz Wagner was a force of the Magic, delivering a well-rounded performance with 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. A cornerstone of Orlando's future alongside Paolo Banchero and Jalen Suggs, Wagner continued to showcase his growth, scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter and keeping the Magic in the fight until the final moments. His ability to stretch the floor, combined with his defensive instincts, made him a problem for Memphis all night. Yet, it was the Grizzlies' collective effort that ultimately pushed them across the finish line. Brandon Clark played one of his best games of the season, posting a double-double and making hustle plays that don't always show up in the box score. One moment, in particular, stood out: a late-game dive for a loose ball that kept a key possession alive, embodying the relentless mentality Memphis thrives on. Clark's energy was infectious, and his performance was a reminder of just how valuable he is to this squad when fully engaged. Desmond Bane also played a critical role, particularly on the glass. Known primarily for his shooting, Bane expanded his game, pulling down 7 rebounds and making key defensive stops when matched up against Wagner and Banchero. His leadership was evident during a timeout when head coach Taylor Jenkins implored his team to stay locked in. Bane's response was simple yet powerful. Let's hoop. That mindset helped Memphis claw its way back and execute down the stretch. Jenkins himself lauded his team's poise after the game, emphasizing the leadership of Morant and Bane in keeping the squad focused despite the adversity. He highlighted the pivotal contributions from role players like Aldama and Jackson, noting that their energy and execution down the stretch were instrumental in the win. In a season where every game is a test of resilience, this victory stood out as a testament to the Grizzlies' ability to battle through adversity and find ways to win. With this win, Memphis has now triumphed in 6 of their last 7 clutch-time games, a sign that their late-game execution is improving after early season struggles. However, the road ahead doesn't get any easier. The Grizzlies now turn their attention to a formidable challenge against the Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the NBA's best teams this season. A Sunday showdown in Cleveland will be a measuring stick game, particularly for the Grizzlies' front court, as Jaren Jackson Jr. prepares to go head-to-head with a dominant Cavs interior anchored by Evan Mobley. It will be the 3rd game in 4 nights for Memphis, but these are the matchups that define a team's character. After proving their resilience in Orlando, the Grizzlies will be eager to show once again that they can rise to the occasion when it matters most.